Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Hockey Toolkit episode 11 of season 2, 31 overall. I am Trevor DiCarlo.
I'm Andrew Trimble.
I nailed it on that first try there. I didn't have to go back and, no scratcher.
This is by the 31st episode. I was like, his fingers crossed. By 31 to 32, Trevor's going to get it.
Eventually, one day. But I did. I nailed it on the first try, so it's probably our last episode. We'll have to end it there, but
No way. I'm keeping this going.
Oh, I'm having too much fun right now. But how are you doing, Coach?
Good. Our season, my son's season wrapped up. He had his they do youth tryouts here in the spring. I'm not a huge fan of that. It's actually not even the spring, it's still the winter.
I hate that.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan because the kids take a huge growth spurt in the summer, and it really doesn't account for that. Yep. But I know why they do it, and a lot of our rinks they take the ice up in April and they don't put it back down until the end of August. So it's a little bit different up here. And so Barron's season's over, but my season with the junior stuff is still going on. We're currently entering our first round of the playoffs this upcoming week, nice. Our EHL team will play the Spartans, and our EHL Premier team will play the Avalanche. So a lot of in-state rivals, and will be a lot of fun. Hopefully come out on top. How about you, Trev?
Oh, yeah. So, my season's been over for a little bit. We're kind of now winding into what we do out here in the Midwest, well, at least Illinois. We do spring season, so it's a little bit more laid back. We do 2 big tournaments that are out here. And then, there's like once a week skills, once a week practice. You can play some scrimmage games if you want, but outside of that, there's really not a whole lot. We don't do tryouts out here until let me rephrase that. Let me backtrack. We do have, at least at the tier 1 level, they do their tryouts, but I think they do theirs in May or May-ish time, May, June. Which again, I agree with you. I think so much growth can happen within 5 months, especially for like a bubble kid who, when you got 2 bubble kids, God only knows, so, but yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it right now. Just kind of been winding down with that. It's been a little bit of a break, but I've already got the juices flowing in the old mind here that, hopefully works 100% of the time. But yeah, I mean, basically just been thinking about what I want to accomplish. I'm going to have the same age group again next year. So, it's kind of just seeing, all right, I took a couple steps back, looked at how the overall season went, what worked, what didn't work. And now, I've talked to my assistant coach and both of the coaches that I had and just said, okay, hey, like, what did your guys' thoughts of, this and that? So, it's good. And I want to make sure that they know like their opinions are valued. So I, try to collaborate with them, on some different ideas. So that's kind of where we're at right now. So yeah, I got those tryouts in about a week, I believe. We take a break for spring break and then we hit the ice in, first week of April.
That'll be good stuff. One of I posted on the Hockey Focus. I posted my 5 myths of off seasons. I posted some previously, shared 5 myths on the Hockey Focus website, just some other ones that I've written, but I hadn't shared the off-season one up until today. And I really encourage people to, take a look at that and maybe incorporate that into what you're doing with your family. Barron this spring, I just got him, just got back from Ninja Zone training. He's loving his Ninja Zone stuff. He's doing some tumbling. He's doing some jumping. I showed him in Kill Bill Volume 2. I really don't want him to learn the 5-point death punch. I said, if you learn this one, man, you can't come in the house because you're just too dangerous. And he said he promised me he wouldn't learn it. So, fingers crossed, nobody's going to be dying in the house. But I think doing things like that get you out of the rink but can still develop you as a total athlete are super important. What are your thoughts, Trevor?
No, I mean, I agree 100%. I mean, I've always encouraged players to, play other sports, do other things that you normally don't do. Like, I mean, we want them to be well-rounded athletes, but even if it's, hey, like go do like the, school band or go do, whatever, go skateboard, whatever, just do something different. You don't want to get them run down. I mean, I think there's a very select few of kids that truly want to be on the rink the whole year around. So yeah, I mean, I'm 100% open to players playing, kids playing other sports. I love watching, not watching. I love, seeing the kids that come back from soccer. I mean, this year I have one kid who You could tell he was a soccer player and he loves soccer and he's really good because we would do drills where it would be like board battles and nobody could get from him. He just used his body so well to protect the puck. I mean, it was like kids would eventually knock his stick out of his hands and they still couldn't get the puck from him because he just like you could tell it was the soccer skills of using. It was unreal. And so that we got that. I think lacrosse is great. I mean, again, it's summer. Take a break. Not only for the kids, but for the parents too, But no, I mean, that's how I feel, but I hear plenty of parents say, oh, we got travel soccer, we got travel lacrosse, we got travel baseball, this and that. So I don't have any kids that I know of. So I mean, it's more or less, I can't imagine doing that year round of just going from one place to the other. But then again, I already do it anyways. But
Absolutely. And,
yeah,
you know,
so
one
I mean,
one thing I noticed with our goaltenders, over the last, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 seasons is, with the decline in people playing baseball, maybe that might be due to the fact that I'm up here in New Hampshire and it's really not a huge baseball culture. It's a real cold weather climate, so baseball season is very short. But all of our goaltenders really struggle with that just basic eye-hand coordination of catching pucks and steering pucks with their blockers. So even if you're not like let's say, I think that's one of the bullet points in my article. The other sports, incorporating them into your uh, into your toolkit to use our phrase here for the show, that will help you on the ice. If hockey's your main sport and you need a break, pick up another sport, and it'll probably help you in playing hockey.
no, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, it's with baseball per se, baseball is one sport where if you don't really like, if you don't make it like into the high school team or whatever, like it's kind of done. Like there's no, I mean, they might have like a local league, but it's, American Legion or whatever. I don't know. I didn't play that far up, but like it kind of just, it peaks like real quickly. Where at least with like other sports like hockey, you could play in a club program until you graduate high school or soccer. You could play on like I think you could probably play on a club team or something, but baseball, it's a tough sport,
Yeah.
to at least try to advance in, but I mean, they all are, I guess. So that's why there's only so many
No,
athletes.
no easy roads to the top. That's for sure.
No, definitely not. But trying to get into those roads though, you might be looking for an advisor to try and help you get into those roads. So look at that segue. All right, 5 points on the board for me. All right. Yeah, no, I mean recently you and I both sat down and had great interviews with two different advisors in two different companies. The first one was Tim Madsen with NexLevel Hockey. The other one was with Stefano from AHA, which is Advancement Hockey Advisory, I think, or Advancement Hockey Advising. That's what it is. It's a mouthful. But yeah, so before we kind of jump into the whole point of our discussions, anything off the top of your head you got, just
Yeah. So number one, I want to say thank you to um, both Tim and Stefano for coming on the podcast. I know that it may have been out of both of their comfort zones, and they didn't really, we didn't provide any questions before the podcast or give a really structured outline of what the podcast would look like. We just want to have an open format where we can discuss some things we've seen with their companies and their social media. And I really applaud them for being courageous and coming on and asking us questions and having a good back and forth, because both conversations, whether you agree or disagree with us or them or either of us, both of those conversations were healthy conversations and good that we had. I think they educated a lot of people who were listening to those and maybe gave some insight into what kind of conversations parents have about advisors and coaches, and then also what kind of conversations that parents should be thinking about when they're acquiring an advisor. So thank you very much, guys, for coming on.
Yeah, no, I mean, we definitely asked them some questions. Like they weren't easy questions, let's be honest. And that was our goal, was to ask questions that you and I both have similar feelings on the advising business in general. And again, well, I'll give him a shout out right now. Garrett Lethal Lefty Notre Dame from Twitter. He thought the episode was really good. He thought that both of the Tim and Stefano answered the questions, really well. Didn't really sidestep them. Again, they weren't. There was not supposed to be a fluff piece for anybody. It was supposed to be like, hey, you know, technically both of those Tim and Stefano reached out to us. it was really Tim who reached out to us first saying, "Hey, I'd love to talk to you guys further about it." And we were like, "Yeah, shoot, like let's go." The other side, Stefano, it was they brought in, their publicist, they had them come over, they reached out to us. So, um, it was one of those things where, I mean, I commend the two people that came on because they weren't easy questions. And, I didn't hold back, and I think you asked great questions coming from a perspective as a coach who's dealt with advisors, as well as a GM, and a lot of my questions were from like a parent standpoint, like like an actual consumer. I mean, we talked about Johnny Tryhard, and then, if I'm a parent, this and that. So I think it was good, information. And again, like I said, I'll give them, both tons of credit. They got in the ring, they showed up. So
Absolutely. Well, Trev, you want to hit some of our checklist here? We had some checklists kind of going down, doing a little bit of a compare and contrast. I think that would be a good way to kind of break down those episodes if they stood side by side, and we asked them both similar questions. I think there was a good comparative analysis of each program. The first checklist question we have: what is the difference between an advisor who has experience in coaching and hockey ops and those who have just the playing experience? We had one of our guests had a lot of coaching experience at Division One, Division Two, or excuse me, Division One, Division Three levels, and then he also coached in the NA. He also had a Division One playing career, and then our other podcast episode featured just younger guys with a lot of playing experience. What were some of the differences you saw in those two types of practices? One that are focused on the coaching advisors with a coaching or hockey ops background compared to advisors with just the playing background.
I'm going to start this by saying these are just my opinions. They're not fact or they're, anything like that. They're opinions. I mean, you could tell right off the get-go that, Tim's been, you could tell he's been in the game. He's been in for longer. His, I felt like his were more like, hey, this is what I'm going to do. Like right from the get-go. Um, there was no like, oh, we've got different pricing packages like this and that. I mean, he kind of hit it right from the get-go, and um like it felt like he knew. I mean, he everyone knows what coaches are looking for, but it seemed like he was just more of a, I don't know. It just felt like it was more of like a, like if I'm going between the two, I'm going to be going with Tim because it seems like Tim knows what he's got. Um, whereas the AHA one, it felt like they had so many different options and so many different things. Um, and it was just like way too many. It just like it just felt, yeah, it was just way too much. Like it felt cluttered, honestly. A lot of different things. And if you go on the website, you can see all the different packages and stuff, and you can join the Discord group. This like I'm looking for an advisor. That's what we're looking for. So I think the thing was that Tim's dealt with, he's been a coach, as we said before. He's been, the head coach of NCAA teams. He's worked in juniors at the tier one level or tier two, tier three, tier one, I think tier one, two for sure. But like he knows how that kind of goes where you've got AHA who, from what I've checked, none of them have ever actually worked in the operations. And that doesn't mean that it's a huge deal, but I think there is something there for the history and the experience that's already there.
I agree completely. I think that when you're taking just that playing perspective, right? Imagine yourself on your hockey bench, right? Maybe you're a sophomore or junior, and you look down the bench and you're saying to yourself, "I'm as good as that guy on power play one. I'm as good as that guy who's our top penalty killer. Why is he getting those minutes?" The same thing we saw in the advisor world. Those our one advisor that we dealt with kind of was looking at like the player perspective, where he's communicating with his client, who's another current player, and he's saying, "Well, you're as good as these guys. We're going to get you to this spot. We're going to get you to this tryout. And if it doesn't work out for you, oh, that's kind of on you." Whereas Tim was saying he said he's going to get you to the level that you belong, because he was taking kind of a macro approach to where he's placing his kids, because he could see that, well, on my NCAA roster, I only have 4 spots. So if I take 5 kids, one of them's going home. if I'm taking a kid in the NA, I can only tender this amount of players because I have this amount of returners and this amount of draft picks. So he had an understanding of the full scope of the operation, and he could really, really get those kids, I think, into the place where they belonged rather than just getting them a tryout and hoping that they don't flame out, which in some cases, Stefano alluded to that a number of kids that they took as testimonials flamed out. And I think that brings up a really tough point where, like, if you're the advisor, what advice are you giving these kids? If they're not working out, you're giving them bad advice. That's just the reality. If a kid is not sticking at a certain level and that was your advice to send them there, that's bad advice. Simple as that.
Yep. I mean, and again, and that was the reason why I specifically asked that question of moving players onto levels. Like, yeah, the players got there, like it's great. And you know what, there is something to be said for that. But if a player's not sticking, as you said, like, and this is where I liked how Tim does the full year. You're paying for the full year, I'm committed to you for the full year. Where AHA's got their own, different deals for whatever month, 3, they've got it spaced out by months. I think it was what, 3, 6, and 12. Like, okay, I don't
Yeah.
really need, but like Tim is fully committed for that full year where, AHA might not be, based on the package you pick. And Tim wants to make sure that that kid, once the kid makes a team, it's not over for him. I'm not saying that that's the case with AHA, but if you got the 3-month package and all of a sudden, okay, you got me on my team, I'm done. Like it's over there. Like then, okay, well, what's the incentive for them outside of helping the player? But you know, they are, to be fair, they are running a business too. So I get it. Like I get that aspect. So I do like, that was where I liked where Tim was doing like, no, it's just a yearly fee. And it just felt like in in my opinion, in that route, that it is a more complete and more involved circumstance. And again, you know, I do think there is something to be said about like you learn from your mistakes. And I'm not saying that those players not making those teams, didn't make mistakes. I'm sure Tim has players. Um, I'm assuming he's probably got a couple that have just didn't work out. You just have to learn. And how can you get better? What can you do for those players? So, yeah, that was something that I brought up. It was clear as day I brought it up. There's a reason why I brought it up. And, I think Stefano answered it the best that he could. But again, it's one of those things like, what are you trying to promote? What are you trying to do? So, I mean, that's pretty much my my opinion that I can give right now without going spastic on it.
Well, Stefano did say that if a kid signs up for 6 months, they're looking for a team maybe in that off season. If they sign up with them in June, July, August, gets them a team for September. And he said if it doesn't work out for the kids, uh, if they get cut in September, he always works really hard to find them a new team. And I respect that. And I'm sure he does.
Absolutely.
Um, I'm sure he does, goes the extra mile to find that team. But you got to put yourself in the shoes of, like you said, a business, right? So, uh, are you going to be, if you work at a grocery store and you got a person checking out or returning an item, are you going to finish the checkout or are you going to take the returned item first? You're going to finish the checkout, right? You're going to get paid and then you're going to take the return later. And I think that in general, like, yeah, he might work to find them a second home, but they're only on a 3-month plan. He's going to attend to those kids who are 6-month or 12-month plans or current clients first. And that's just the reality of the business. And, Tim said that he has 12-month clients. And I think that's a better time frame going forward. If you're a new advisor looking into this, I want to encourage kids to sign up for that 12-month plan if they're going to go that route, because I think you'll probably be getting a better experience if you do something like that.
No, absolutely. And I think from, as we just said, the advising standpoint, I think a 12 months should be something that folks are looking for with any company. I don't think, you don't want to just getting your kid on the team, as we've already said, like that's part of the battle. And that's a minuscule like piece of what they actually do. It's, making sure like, hey, this is how we talk to the coach. This is what we do. So again, that's just, that's our opinions. We're allowed to have them. So
Absolutely. Well, that kind of alludes to our second difference and comparative point is, comparing companies that are focused on advisory practices or full scale hockey development programs. We had one, Next Level Hockey was just purely advising. That's what they said they did. They had only a handful of advisors. Tim had 27 clients, he said. It was very much the Jerry Maguire style practice for his business compared to, our second advisory firm, which focused on hockey skills. They had mental coaching. They had off-season training programs. They had a huge presence on social media, which I don't see as much with Next Level Hockey. And we know that several of their advisors are admitted part-time advisors. So, what would you compare? Comparing the two, which, if you were signing up for an advisor for your firm, what would be your first place to go to, Trevor? Would you want to get everything all in one place with all hockey development, or would you just want to go to your advisor to be your advisor and maybe look to skills for somebody else?
Well, I mean, and again, this we're going on our opinions here. Like the first thing I'm going to be honest, the first thing I'm going to notice is I'm probably going to notice AHA right off the bat because of their social media presence. Um, Stefano does a good job of the content that he puts out, on a recurring basis. And you and I both seen it on, Instagram, Facebook. They're not as heavy on Twitter, but they're going really towards the players who are where the kids at. Kids aren't on Twitter. It's us old guys, older guys. Like, the kids are on Instagram. So that's what I'm gonna see first. That being said, I guess it really depends on, what is a parent, what is a player looking for? I don't need all the thrills. I don't need, the skating coach, the mental strength, whatever coach that was. Like, I don't like it's great that you have references, but again, what am I realistically trying to get an advisor for? An advisor I'm looking for is to help get me on the right track to the next level or whatever level's appropriate for me. Again, but I'm just one person. There are families that don't know, so they might want to go with AHA and do what their thing is. I mean, I don't think there is a right or wrong answer here. Again, some people want that like, hey, these guys got more options. I think it comes down to what are the type of options you're getting, what are you paying for, and again, how much are they involved with all of that. And again, Tim, as you said, like Tim seems more like that kind of Jerry Maguire type where he's like he's kind of your agent, but he's also not. Like, he's there to, he's there to help you. And it wasn't that Stefano wasn't. His was more like, I think it's lack of experience, really is what it comes down to. I think it's just because Tim's got that experience. He knows what it's like to be that coach who, hey, okay, I'm not getting my ice time. Like, okay, I'm gonna go talk to that coach. And he's like, no, no, you're not. You guys just got flattened in two back-to-back games this weekend. The first thing not to do on Monday is to go in and talk to your coach. I'm not saying that, the other guys wouldn't do that, but it felt more like of a more professional, in my opinion, kind of feeling. What about you? What do you think, coach?
No, I agree entirely. Uh, a lot of their hockey development stuff was outsourced. So it was like it was a la carte, right? If you want this, you
Yeah.
could do that. If you want this, we got a guy for that, and we'll collect and then repay somebody else. Like, it was this somewhat convoluted, in all fairness. I think they
Yeah.
would even that somewhat convoluted payment structure that outsourced money to other companies or didn't.
I mean,
Um,
you basically just go on their website. They've got you the links to all the six. Last I checked, it was six different, whatever you wanted. And basically you just go from there. I don't know how it works from there. I didn't go too crazy, but
but like you said, like Tim, he's an advisor, right? So if you need something, you ask advice to him. He's not going to outsource that advice to a mental strength coach or outsource those things to other people. And he's dealing with these, legitimate Division 1 athletes. So Division 1 athletes have their own skill coaches. Division
right,
1 athletes have their own strength and conditioning coaches. So why would you need those strength and conditioning and skill coaches if they're already provided by the program that you're in? I thought that was kind of strange too. Like, we talked to Stefano, and he was saying like he had all these strength and conditioning and skills and this stuff like that, but like, and he said to talk to your coach, but like, some of these junior programs or AAA programs, they have skill coaches. They have
Right.
strength and conditioning coaches. Like, why wouldn't you just automatically use them? And if you can, if your kid, let's say he's really enjoyed the leg program that he was on over the summer, you wouldn't bring in another person just to work his legs. You would just go talk to the strength and conditioning coach and say, you'd have your kid advocate for themselves and give them good advice and say, hey, maybe can we incorporate some of this stuff in the workouts? What do you think about this? Are there positive and negatives to what I was doing over the summer? How do you think we can incorporate this into our in-season workouts? You would want your kid to then get some good advice and be able to advocate for themselves so that they can grow as a person, but also develop as a player, instead of just saying, oh, well, if you want that, we'll get you this. Like, that
Right.
doesn't, I
I
don't know
think
if that's really advice, you know?
no. Well, and then as I said, it's. I feel like one was made for the more uninformed parent, family player, um, where hey, we're giving you all these different options. Like you can go and do these things. Like we've got maybe you get 15% off going through us. This is like, or not going through us, but because you're with us, whatever the case may be, where that one felt, as you said, like a la carte, they can go and pick, choose, oh, maybe I want to do this, maybe do that. Where the other one, was just like, I'm sure that what you just literally said is the exact same thing that Tim would say. Okay. Like who have you been working with? And again, as you already said, I know a bunch of the local guys up here. There's like 5, 6, 7, 8 different skills coaches you can go to based on the rink that you're at, like up here, like who they are. So again, for the uninformed, maybe that's what they need to do. But again, it just shows you the two different ranges of these, companies that are, these advising companies.
Yeah, I know for certain if we had, let's say, a player came up to us and he was advised by AHA and, um, he was an in-season athlete for us, and we have skills every single day. We have 2 practices a day with the Wolves. We have goalie skills on Monday. We have power skating and puck skills more or less on Tuesday. We have defenseman skills on Wednesday, forward skills on Thursday, and then we do a lot of open ice or power play work on Friday. And if a kid said, Coach, I'm missing practice because I'm going to go down to Massachusetts, my advisor got me an hour-long session to go do some skating work with him, I would say, what are you doing separating yourself from the team? Like, if you want more skating work, tell me what you need, and
Right.
we'll formulate that into some time. We have it in that open ice session on Friday, or we'll bring that up to Coach Kuhns when he's putting together the practice plan on Tuesday. But we're not going to have you traveling all over Massachusetts the day before a game potentially, or with
Right.
falling without of that game structure to go take lessons from somebody else. That doesn't really fit the program, and it separates yourself from the team. And I think that's one of the biggest thing that gets overlooked in this thing is that when you're part of a team, there's 20, 25 guys, whatever, the more you exclude yourself by doing things that are outside of that team dynamic, it doesn't really always help you. It really doesn't. I mean, maybe you're getting a little bit better skills coaching. Maybe you're getting a little bit better mental health coaching or therapy or whatever it may be. But
Not
also
therapy.
being part
It's
of
not therapy. Remember, it's not
being part of the
licensed therapy.
correct, but being part of the team is important. Being part of the team is the whole reason you're here. Like in the playoffs, right where we are now, you need a team, man. You can't have 25 guys who are going to their own individual skill coaches and just showing up on game day. You need guys who are playing for each other, and
No,
that's important.
no, definitely. Stefano did admit they hadn't had any sales in that area like the entire year, if I remember correctly.
I believe he
So
said that. Yes,
so that goes to show you right there, like how many people are actually taking advantage of it. So yeah, no, I mean, you don't want to exclude them. You don't want to, and again, whether it's, what you do in your off season again is your thing. And I'm sure you guys have like a program that you want the guys to go through and they want to do extra great. And maybe that's what this was geared towards, like, oh, off season, but I don't know. Like it wasn't really explained too well on that end. I just don't like oh, we can do this. You can do this. You can do this. Like okay, at a certain point, and I don't know. I just felt like sometimes a little bit overload. So I'm someone
it
who,
struck me as I'm going to give you 3 letters. Okay,
yeah,
maybe instead of being called AHA, would you call it QVC?
you could be, you could. I mean,
That little
there's,
timer ticking down.
yep, that's
We
just our
only
opinion.
have 12 left.
Our opinion is yes. To reiterate that. No,
This is
and
strictly
again,
our opinion.
yes, strong. Yeah, it's not necessarily factual, so we're not here to hurt anyone's feelings. Um, but yeah, I mean, it seems like a lot, and I just want someone who's cut and dry, tell me what needs to get done, help me move up to this level or help me kind of walk through this level. And let me go to my coaches for the ones who can really tell me like this is what you need to work on. So
And Trevor, that brings up a good point. You mentioned earlier the difference between advisors with a yearly fee compared to advisors with multiple subscription choices. Ball in your court, your kid signing up for an advisor, what would you choose?
right now I would do the 1 year. Um, just again, because if I'm gonna commit myself to this, I want to do it for a full year. I want to get the most out of it. But I'm expecting that same person though for the full year, not to just get my kid on the team. Like I'm
Yes.
expecting them to point me in the right direction and then help me and help my child through that next season. Okay, like hey, this is what's happened, or he's not playing. Period. And again, I'm talking as if I'm a parent who doesn't have a ton of experience in hockey. Like, what does he need to do? Well, Tim, as he said, I'm going to tell him, you're going to wait, you talk to the coach, but this is how you should do it. This is what you need to do, like when to do it, pick your timing, and again, he said he spent more time, he said he wished, what was he say? He wished that he spent more time on the actual hockey aspect, but,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
more or less, dealing with, and Stefano said the same thing, dealing with like girlfriend issues and this and that. So, again, I just think that to each his own. You're paying for whatever you want. But if I'm going to get an advisor, I want to get someone that's going to be with me for the full year. And if I don't like it after that full year, okay, it's done and over with. But at least I know that the player, my child is being looked after for that full year instead of okay, the 3 month fee or the 6 months. What are your thoughts? Or what about you, coach?
No, I agree with you. I think that, um, I think that that's exactly right. Like, and for in all fairness, Stefano did say that, at one point he had a kid who was really homesick or a girlfriend issue, and he was on the phone for, 4 or 5 hours, I believe was the number that he used. Don't quote me directly, but I think that was the number that he used. Um, and that's, as a coach, that's the stuff I deal with too. Like a kid is homesick, or he's wondering why he's not on the power play or getting more playing time, or he's got billet issues. Those are the things that I deal with a lot as coach. I mean, the billet issues and the housing issues are a real time suck, and it is what it is. Kids, it's the age, like they're 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 years old. you know, they're going to shoot golf balls through the wall, but like dinks at their condo. They're going to never change their bed sheets. They're not going to do their laundry. They're going to smell bad. And you're going to notice the kids who are taking enough baths. I mean? Like these are kids, and these are the things you're going to deal with. So it was good to hear that out of both advisors, that they both said that yes, once they get a kid on a team, that's those are the primary things that come back and forth to them, are those kind of issues. And I think that in many ways, if you're a parent who doesn't want to hear that kind of stuff, if you don't want to go there, like, then those two guys could be a good option for you.
We could probably talk till we're blue in the face on this. Again, this is really it all depends on at the end of the day what type of level of hockey you are trying to get your child to, or let me phrase that, what type of level your child's trying to get to. But your daughter, your son, whatever level they want to get to, how they're going to get there. And you want the ones that are going to be the most honest and seem genuine in the call. And again, I don't disregard anything they said. Like, I mean, I don't feel like let me phrase that. I don't think any of them really like, I didn't feel like there was like lies being spread, you know. Now, do we both know? I mean, let's be, you had dealt with Stefano earlier in the year. And you've
Yes.
had interactions, with him, and through your interactions, in your opinion, when he called you with the Wolves about the player, did he seem like he had, like, did he seem like the advisors you typically work with, or did he just seem like someone else? I mean, what was that experience like?
So all the things that he was talking about, uh, in that if you're not getting enough playing time or you're having issues with your host family or billet, you should go talk to your coach first. I never encountered those things. I got a text out of the blue that a kid who was at the tier 3 level on our younger junior team, who hasn't scored a goal in 5 seasons, is now getting an opportunity for a tier 2 tryout. Um, that was directly from Stefano. Um, that player, hopefully he's doing great. He was a nice kid. He hasn't played a game on elite prospects since that moment he left our team. So I wish him well, but that advice that he gave him, I don't know if it was the greatest advice because he hasn't really had a very productive season. And the further you get closer to that age out year, every season
Right.
should be a stepping stone and a ladder to the next step. And I don't know if there's a place where you can really build upon. If a person looks at that elite prospects and sees that a particular player has played for multiple organizations in a close proximity, like within 3 years, played for 3 or 4 different teams and hasn't had a ton of success, there's less organizations that are going to be willing to sign up and take a chance on a kid. And that's unfortunate because you want, like, if I see a kid come, send us an email and he's been with one organization for 3 years, let's say it's in Florida, and he's like, I want to come to the Northeast for an opportunity for greater exposure, and he's had success every step of the way, been a consistent producer, no
Yeah.
brainer. You're going to give that
No,
kid a chance. But if the kid's kind of bounced around at different places down south, maybe he had the same level of productivity, and says, I want to come north for the exposure, I'm kind of thinking, well, he just kind of wants to get out of Florida because he's kind of exhausted all his opportunities in Florida.
right.
Right? It's the same type of player, maybe, but a different experience. And there's like more like red flags. So, you know, he in many ways kind of created a red flag player, which is unfortunate.
I don't know the backstory on him. I don't know if that's, who's been telling him to do that. Maybe this is just, AHA's first crack at him to work with him. I don't know. And, based off what you tell me, if the kid hasn't shown up anywhere else on elite, anywhere, hopefully my hope is that they found him a home and they just haven't posted the stats, whatever it is, whatever league it
Yeah.
could be.
Or maybe he got injured. Hopefully he's not injured. I don't really know, but you're right. Hopefully everything is all right with him. But he has, like you said, he has not appeared anywhere.
And again, it's like it's no different than being a coach, no different than being in any job. If someone's looking at your resume and you're bouncing around, like the first thing I did when I was a hockey director was if a new coach was going to come into our program, like I wanted to see where you were coming from. Like how long were you in your last, like your last 5 years, and if you're bouncing between youth clubs or something, like to me, that's a red flag. You know,
Definitely.
that means, and again, I can understand if it's you're bouncing because you're getting a better opportunity, which is okay, that's different. But if you're just bouncing around, you're not really moving up too many levels, it's just kind of it's like okay, that's red flags. And I know that. I mean, any business. So
Well, that's kind of a good segue too. Like in terms of if you're talking about getting to the next level, Division One commitments versus junior and Division Two or Division Three commitments. We saw a lot of posting on the Next Level Hockey website about Division One and Division Three commitments. On the AHA website, we saw a couple Division Three and then a lot of junior commitments. Junior commitments and Division One commitments are a very different beast. Division One commitments include a national letter of intent. Oftentimes, they include scholarship money. They include a roster spot. We have limited rosters of players who can be on that roster at the Division One level. They include an allocation of money or resources or scholarship money, whether it's a partial scholarship, full scholarship. There's a limited number of scholarships you can get at the Division One level. It's very different than Division Two and Division Three. Division Two and Division Three are all basically verbal commitments. You apply to the school, you communicate with the coach. The coach says either he likes you or he doesn't like you. He says that if he really likes you, he'll talk to the financial aid office. Maybe they can cut you a deal on the financial aid. Maybe they can
or
work with
answer
you
too.
on yeah, I mean, you can steer you towards some alumni scholarships or some academic scholarships or different scholarships in that regard, but they do not give athletic scholarships. So it's a different allocation of resources. Junior, there's none of that. Like junior, it's just like they got a roster spot in many of these independent leagues, like in the USPHL. They have unlimited roster spots. They actually have a protected list now in the USPHL with 80 players you can have at the USPHL.
That's just
So
stupid. So
yeah,
yeah.
so like to say like you've committed a kid to the top team in the USPHL, well, that's not really saying that much. I mean, it's a pay to play league, so you're just funneling money to different organizations. That's cashing a check. So um, it's different. It's a very different beast. So when you can say, and we had validation of this through a resource who's close to us, an assistant coach at the Division One level. and Tim Madsen, they checked out. Those Division One commitments checked out. They
Yeah.
were his clients that he got to that institution, and the assistant coach said that's a good guy, and we got a couple of his players. And then we looked up some of the other ones, and they didn't check out at the
Yeah.
junior level and or the junior or the Division 3 level. So we're talking about red flags a little bit. There's some red flags there for sure.
Yeah. It's, again, I think it's we're looking at it from where we are because we are informed, because we are educated, because we've gone, we've seen these players, we've worked with them, we've coached them, we know people who've gone through the processes, and you know, there wasn't really much fluff, I felt like, with, Tim Madsen's, and I really liked his, I liked how both of them were said they would be very transparent. Tim even said he'd send me the books of how much, when he said he saved over $1 million for the players in his program. And I think that might have just been his clients, just in fees or whatever. Like he said, I'll send it to you right now. And I know like he wasn't kidding. So, um, like it seemed like that was a big part of his, like, okay, this is this is what you're here for. I'm moving you up. So I'm going to do the best I can and move you up. And the proof's in the pudding. I mean, when you said D1 players, you know, that takes a lot. I don't think AHA is at that level yet. Um, I think they might be down the road. They might be able to move players, wherever, but it seems like so far this is where they've only been able to move them to. So again, as a parent, that's something you're looking at. Like, I mean, you're looking at, oh, okay, they're able to move guys to this level, and okay, they're able to move the guys to this level. And, like Tim's been doing this longer. Tim's probably, Tim knows what it takes to get to those levels. Not saying the other guys don't, but, okay, this company's moving kids to D1, you know? So, again, both ends of the spectrum on different advising companies. One has these commits. One, again, reaching out to our contacts, like we weren't kidding when we reach out. Like people think we're dumb. Like we do our homework. Some people might not do their homework, but we do our homework. And when I reached out to, again, reached out to a couple guys. One's in the NCAA. I'm not gonna say where, who, what, coach. You knew Tim Madsen. Yeah, great guy. We've used him, as you said. I asked him about the other company. Never heard of them. No idea who they are. So maybe they're just not in that spot yet. But like, I just, I think it does. I guess it also is your clientele. Like, what type of players are you getting? I mean, I'm sure every advising company wants the best of the best, but who is working with who? And again, that's where I think, my opinion, it felt like AHA might be more for the families that really don't know what they're doing, what they're getting into. Where Tim with NexLevel, it felt like those were more of those kids that were already like they've been going for this for a long time, and like they're ready to go to that next level. That's no pun intended, but that's what it felt like. Honestly, that's what it feels like to me. And again, each his own. There's nothing wrong with one or the other. There was nothing that seemed like there's any illegal stuff going on between any of the companies, nothing of that
No.
nature whatsoever. Like again, like we are not here to bash them. Okay. We can, like, if you want, I'm not going to go down that road. Like, I, I've already, I've been through that enough. We've already had our chats. You know, I'm just, I guess we're gonna be the better people here, but it more or less comes down to, look, to each his own. They each offer something. If I'm looking at I think it depends on the athlete and who I am as a parent.
Well, I would say this, Trevor. I would say this. Number one, Tim has a small client size, right? The client roster, 27 players currently. I'd say there's probably a lot of players that are signed with other companies that Tim wouldn't take on. He looks like he's taking on some of those higher level kids, and
Yes.
that's okay, So that's all well and good. Yeah. So I worked for 10 years prior to getting fully involved in hockey. I worked for 10 years as a financial advisor. After school, I was, I worked at a couple different companies. I worked in Philadelphia. I actually worked in Lower Manhattan for about 5 years before I was able to move up here to New Hampshire when I got married and take my practice with me. And when you're starting out, I had the firms I was working for was like, oh, go after the big fish, go after this guy, go after the 401ks, go after this. And,
Right.
that could be a slow dollar. You might not make any of those sales for 6 months and you might be eating a lot of cans of tuna, you know? So, I didn't really, my dad is a teacher. My mom was also a physical education teacher. Those weren't the people I associated with. I may have been able to be a good communicator and make friends with anybody. I can sit at the bar with anybody, but like I didn't go after those people. I went after kind of like, people that I knew and who were easy to have conversations with and who needed some help. And then I left that business about in 2015 to focus on hockey. And it's been a great experience doing what I love in hockey. But I would say that when you're starting out, like oftentimes you go after the low hanging fruit off the tree. And I think that's oftentimes what one of our people we spoke with is going after the low hanging fruit, just like you said.
Tim and Madsen even said, he goes, for a while there, I'm going to my, mailbox to check to see if I got a check coming in. He doesn't have to worry about that. And again, every business is different. Just because one's been open longer than the other doesn't mean the other one's not going to be more successful, or the one that, it's no different when we tell our parents with kids getting better, like skill wise. Development isn't linear. Business, like, growth, yeah, I mean, it can show, but look at every company, like every big time company, they've had their ups and downs, Like, I mean, fuck, I'm surprised Tesla's even still going right now, but,
Well,
like,
and I would say that too. Also, like every time you place a kid, wherever it may be, if it's their ceiling and that's the highest level of hockey they can go to, that's a home run.
yeah,
That's a home run. Not every kid is a Division 1 player. So if you take a kid coming from New York State High School, and he develops in a program, and you continue him to move up the ladder, and then he gets to the highest level he can get to in junior, and gets a Division 2 or Division 3 opportunity. That's a home run. That's the best that kid could do, and there's only 7% of high school athletes make it to the college level. So he reached his potential, and that's a win. So um, even if it may not be a Division 1 placement, it's still a win, and a win's a
right.
win.
How we look at it is sadly different than what the customers think. And again, this is all every sport, everything, but like, if you don't play for people think you don't play for a winning coach at when your kid's 10 years old, 9 years old, he's not going to excel as he gets older. Well, what happens if that coach really focuses on player development? Who gives a shit what that season goes like? As long as the kid's having fun and he's getting better, we know that's going to be better than some coach who's running a fucking left wing lock with a bunch of 9-year-olds and they don't work on any skills or anything. They just, okay, this is what you're going to do. So again, I think both the advising companies that we talk to, I think they are on two different ends of the spectrum. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Um, I'm sure if we delved into it more, we could probably pick apart anything, no different than anybody could pick apart us. Um, but yeah, I mean, if you're moving kids along and they're getting a fair chance and they're getting to the highest level that possible for them, then yeah, like you're doing your job. Like, and that's what people are paying you for to do. Sadly, I think these two interviews definitely opened my eyes up a little bit more to the advising business. Sadly, I still think there are advising companies that are just bullshit that are out there. Um, because as we stated before, like it's an unregulated business. There's no certification, there's nothing. But, you know, I do appreciate both these companies coming on, and giving us their time and maybe us giving them our time.
I agree, Trevor. I'm in the same. I'm swimming in the same pool as you, man. I have my issues with certain companies, but I would say that I applaud Stefano and Tim for coming on. I think that they articulated as best they could what they do best. I think both of those individuals work hard for their kids. I really do. I think that they try as best they can within their powers to provide an experience for those kids who are under their guidance, management, or advisory services. Um, and that's in a nutshell. I think that closes kind of the chapter a little bit on our advisor series here with the hockey toolkit. Um, but I'm glad we did it because I think it really opened some eyes for some people, and I've had some good feedback from a lot of different people. So I think it's really been a positive.
No, definitely. The feedback we've gotten has been really good. So yeah, again, to Tim, to Stefano, thank you for coming on, talking with us, giving us a look inside your worlds. It is a different area and kind of it's one of those areas of hockey that's not really well known.
Yeah,
And I think they did shed some light on what you can expect it from that type of area within the business of hockey. So, uh,
absolutely.
yeah, so I guess that'll end episode 31 here. I'm
I
sure.
actually got one more
Oh,
thing. I got
oh,
one
go
more thing,
ahead.
Trev.
No, never mind. Okay. I got a lot of cutting. This probably won't come out for another week.
I got one more thing. So I'm going to give a big shout out to my sister, Jill Kakamas. I was down in New Jersey. Um, I wanted to visit my mom. My father passed away this time last year. I was visiting my mom on March 5th, which would have been his 75th birthday. And excuse me. And I went to with my sister and my mom to check out her son, Colton Kakamas's Red Bank Generals hockey practice. They
Hmm.
play. He's just finishing up his 8U season. He has some great coaches down there. He has Nick Regas, who I played with on the Brick Hockey Club. Shout out to the
Nice.
Brick Hockey Club, the team with no nickname. And then also Yves Hero, who's a former NHL player, runs the Red Bank rink. Yves, when I first started to look for hockey jobs in New Jersey, he had offered me a job. Really good guy. I declined the opportunity, but he was always a really good guy. And so I'm glad Colton's playing down with them. But they've had a tough season. They haven't scored a ton of goals, and they still play cross ice or half ice 4-on-4. And Jill
Good.
was like, "My, I know it was. They do everything right. I mean, sometimes you just lose games, right? You
Right.
lose
Okay.
games, big deal." Um, my sister was like, "How can we get the kids to score goals? They're just not scoring goals." Nick's really like focused on the defense, and I said, I think if Nick's focused on the defense, which is all good, that's skills they're going to use later. Like they're playing without the puck. They're going to need that down the road. But imagine if we just played offense. There's no offside. Let's just get that puck and full send that puck, and we'll keep a guy at the other net, and we'll just change the configuration and do no defense. Because if we're going to lose 10-0, wouldn't it be kind of cool to lose 12-6?
Wow. I mean, what's the extra
What
goal
are
to?
your thoughts, Trev?
Oh man, I love cross ice and half ice hockey at that age. You know what? It's funny you bring that up because what was it last night? The Minnesota Wild needed they went for the extra 2 points in 3-on-3 OT and they ended up pulling their goalie
I saw
to
that.
go 4-3, which nobody does.
Ballsy.
It is, but and it worked. I mean, think about it. It's not a bad idea. I agree. Offense, I think we get as coaches, we do get a little, hyper on like, oh, we got to make sure we're playing, some type of defense. But I mean, that's roller hockey rules. I remember playing roller hockey, and it was okay. You two are on defense. You're gonna kind of stay back, kind of, but the rest of you guys go do whatever you want. There's no offside. Screw it. Go for the home run. Why not? Have some fun.
Pond hockey it up.
Yeah, they're 8U. They're not gonna win the Stanley Cup now. So
Well, I
I
did
love
see
it.
that Minnesota game. That actually was tried at our EHL showcase. It was March 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. So it was last weekend.
Okay.
Um, Team I won't mention. They got to overtime. It was a great game, back and forth, 2-2. The team that went to overtime tied up with just 7 seconds to go. Then they go to overtime. They win the faceoff. They get offensive zone entry. They pulled their goalie to make it 4-3. Super ballsy move. Um, I don't know if I do it though, because if I have the better athletes on the ice, I'm going to trust those better athletes that they're going to make a play and we're going to play the 3-on-3. But
Right.
maybe they don't have the better athletes, and maybe they thought that the guys they had on the ice weren't capable of doing that, or maybe they had previous experience and it didn't work out. But they go to 4-on-3. Other team gets the puck. The team that's tied up with 7 seconds to go, one shot, back of the net, lose the game.
No. When you got to go for it, you got to go for it. What was it like? I don't know. Back in the late '90s or whatever, the Rangers needed like 2 points or something. I don't remember. All I know is the Keenan coach team. They needed like 2 points, so he just pulled the goalie like in the middle of the second period or whatever, and they just like it didn't matter how many goals were scored against them. They just needed to score a certain amount of goals for, and that was like what was going to get them. And they didn't get it, but I don't know. I like a little chaos. There's a method to the madness.
I like a curveball for sure. I did see on Twitter though that the NCAA rule, if you are tied and you go to overtime, and then you get a goal scored on an empty net, that it negates the point that you earned to get to overtime. And I thought
That's the
that was
same
wild.
thing
You
with the
might,
NHL.
is it
From
really?
from what I read, is that if they would have been scored against, they would not have gotten that extra 1 point.
Wow. So I didn't know that. That's crazy.
And now I'll definitely check it for the next show, but I'm pretty sure someone had written like this is what made it even more ballsy was the fact that you put up that yeah, like because you pulled that guy, you are basically like they got scored on. Like yeah, it's done. It's over. Like you don't get that extra point no matter what.
Wow. So you really,
I
I
don't know.
mean, you got to have some big cojones.
If you need the points, though, I mean, I can see where you got it. And again, you got possession. If they ice it, they ice it. They got to stay on the ice. You could throw out your next four guys. I mean, you think about it, your power plays what 10 guys typically. So you're going to go through a couple. I mean, you're going to have your best four and the next best four. So you still got two sitting on the bench. So I don't know.
That's a good That's a good point because I mean NHL junior, I believe in college too. You ice it, you got to keep the same guys in the ice. Now you could do that at 10U
No,
or
yeah.
14U. You can line change on that, and you get new guys on the ice each time. So that's a little bit different, but that's a good point.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't think I would. I don't know. I don't want to tip my hand anymore about what I might do next season if we don't. Because in the league that I'm in with 10U is well 9U this last year, but 10U, the league is if you don't score, it goes into overtime. It's an automatic 5 minutes, a 3-on-3, and then if no one scores and it's over. You just both teams get the 1 point and that's it.
That's cool. I love it.
I don't know. Maybe I might if I'm feeling a little giddy here and I think I got the other team kind of pinned down. Maybe I'll do it. Because remember, too, overtime, 3-on-3, goalie switch sides. So now you're
Yep,
even
you got the
further
long
from your
change.
bench. Yep. So
That's right.
I thought it was kind of ingenious to give it a shot. I like the thought process of it being out, the creativity being outside the box. We'll see if
Yeah.
anybody starts copycatting it. It would be
Well, it'd be really amazing if you try that at the 10U level. I mean, there's going to be some wild 2-on-1s, breakaways. I mean, you
oh
see it already, just one loose puck and it could be a breakaway at the 10U level.
oh god,
Now you got
it's
that open space.
I'd be crucified by parents if I tried that and it didn't work. I already know.
You
But
go first.
yeah. It's a story for another day too. I got one for about that, but yeah, no, fuck, I don't care. I'm probably gonna edit most of this out or the episode. Um, yeah, so I was in a tournament. God, this had to be like my third year coaching. We were playing Thanksgiving or a winter tournament. Um, it had that quote that you had to reach. It was all jacked up, but I couldn't even do it because I was like halfway like paying attention, half like I got full-time job. So I got to that game where if you took first place because it was out of five, you got to buy into the finals because there's five teams. So it was us and another team who just so happened to play in our third game against each other. And who the winner moves on. But so I'm sitting here thinking, well, no matter what, we're going to get in the second, third place game. But we can only have so many points. Like if we win this, we can go and just have to sit that one out, right? So 2 minutes left in the game, I pull my goalie. I look up my assistant coaches goes, hey Trevor. It's like, coach. I was like, what? He goes, they just pulled their goalie. And I was like, what? Why would they pull their goalie? Like they got us beat on the quote, and like it doesn't matter. Because again, if we're tied, like one of us goes. I thought we were the team that was down. No, they were. So if
Oh
we would
man.
have gotten scored against, I would have been killed. I would have been just destroyed. I had parents after the game like, wow, coach, that was really balls. And I was just like, oh my God. I could not have been more embarrassed. But yeah, no, nobody scored. Thank God. I threw my goalie back. I think today. No, they threw their goalie back in or something. I don't remember what happened, but yeah, we both pulled our goalies at the same time and it was just chaos and it was scores. It was chaos. And I was like, moving forward, I'm gonna do the exact math that I fucking need to make sure that I never do this again.
Well, there was and now we're getting down a rabbit hole. This is funny, but EHL Frozen Finals during the COVID year was played in Pennsylvania because that was like the one state that was open, like for
Yeah.
teams to travel to. And Jim Masso's Vermont Lumberjacks played in like the consolation game. It was like could if they had certain amount of points scored, the differential could get them into the finals against the Boston Junior Rangers.
Hmm.
But if they didn't, if neither team reached that threshold, the New Hampshire Avalanche was going to go because they had to all have the same record, all based upon the tiebreakers. I guess the Rangers had, swept
Yeah.
the round robin. So I remember the announcers looking at both benches of the 87s and the Lumberjacks and being like, the coaches are jawing back and forth. Are they going to pull their goalies to go for the goal differential here? And this was like basically a championship game at the junior level, at a pretty high junior level.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what happened, but the last 5 minutes was just wild back and forth with pulling the goalie, putting him back on. It was like it was pretty crazy.
That's wild. I mean, again, I love those stories, and yeah, mine. I mean, mine was a complete screw up, and I felt like, and that was actually probably one of the. I would never say they're bad years, but that was a rough year for us because we were playing at a level that was too high for us, but the league was like, "Oh no, you'll be fine," and then we played some games okay. Like there was like a division within our division, but yeah, I'll never forget that where all of a sudden coach, they just pulled their goalie. I'm like, Joe, get back in the net. Don't wait, no, wait. I was like, it's too late. So we make sure we read over in every tournament. We read the tiebreakers, what the rules
Oh,
are.
you gotta.
Yeah, it's basically what we spend half the car ride up doing is making sure we check our notes and have that ready. So,
That's amazing.
all right, coach. Well, for the hockey toolkit, I am Trevor DiCarlo,
I'm Andrew Trimble.
and we'll catch you guys next time.